Prologue. The meeting. If I press a hand against the bruise on my chest, wincing at the sharp pain, instead of dwelling on it, I focus on the coffee cup in front of me, watching as the steam curls into the air. Maybe I shouldn't have come here. Maybe I shouldn't have gotten Luke involved. I was acting out of fear. I didn't know if my father would come back and... Oh, wow. My gaze locks onto a tanned brunette laughing with his friends. Dimples carve into his cheeks, and his smile looks like it could make women weak in the knees. Easily the most attractive guy I've ever seen, I decide. His biceps flex, and I'd bet money he's all lean muscle beneath his shirt. He looks like a player. The type who's had plenty of women admiring him. And then suddenly those gray eyes meet mine. I can't look away. A smirk tugs at his lips, his gaze never wavering. Why in the world is this guy so attractive? Look away, Eve. He's out of your league. Heat crawls up my cheeks, and I force myself to glance down, pretending I haven't been staring. I refocus on Lizzie, my brother's girlfriend, who's been talking animatedly to me for the past 20 minutes. I'll be finished in an hour, Lizzie says as she stands up. I muster a smile and nod before she leaves. I stare out the window, but the sensation of eyes burning into my cheek lingers. I choose to ignore it. Maybe I could transfer here. My grades are good enough. And it's far away from him. Far away from wherever my father is with his new 20-year-old girlfriend. A cold gust of wind rushes through the diner, making me shiver. The pain in my chest throbs. I took an aspirin last night, but I'll need another one when I get back. Maybe some ointment for the bruises, too. That's when a scrawny guy approaches my table, a smug grin plastered on his face. Before I even have time to react, cold water splashes over me. I gasp, freezing in place as icy liquid soaks through my shirt. Pushing wet strands of hair out of my face, I glare up at the culprit. His hands are raised in mock surrender, amusement glinting in his eyes. I recognize him, one of the guys sitting at his table. So he's friends with jerks. Figures. Except this prankster isn't even looking at my face. His eyes are locked on my chest, where my soaked white shirt now clings to my skin, revealing the red lace of my bra underneath. Seriously? You're not even going to apologize? My voice cuts through the diner, sharp and furious. People are staring, but I don't care. I refuse to let guys like this get away with stuff like this. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. The guy smirks wider. You want me to wipe it off for you? Disgust flares in my chest. Oh, grow up. Before I can do more, Lizzie steps in front of me, blocking his view entirely. Even at 5'6", she somehow shields me completely. You good? She asks, her hands gripping my shoulders. I don't even realize I'm shaking until she steadies me. All fine, I reassure her. Wow, nice attitude, Blondie. The guy adds, completely unfazed. I shove myself back in front of Lizzie, anger boiling over. Who do you think you are, treating people like this? He rolls his eyes. You're being dramatic. That's it. I see red. Before he can blink, I knee him right where it hurts. He lets out a strangled groan, doubling over as I tilt my head mockingly. I'm sorry, was I being dramatic? I coo, wiping a fake tear from my eye. Unbelievable, he wheezes. Before I can do more, Lizzie's palm cracks across his face. Hard. You asked for it. She shrugs, completely unbothered. He grips his face and groans, clearly in pain. Unfortunately for him, it's not over yet. A large hand claps him on the back, making him flinch. And when I look up, it's him. The guy I was staring at earlier. He stands behind prankster guy, pinching his shoulder hard enough to make him wince. Up close, he looks even better. Something inside me pulls toward him again, but I fight it. Resist. I'm sorry, he's out of your league. He won't care. He's just like the others. You're too weak for this. Just like you were at 10. Helpless. You can't even escape your own father. I shove the thoughts down. Keep him under control. I mutter, then turn and walk out of the diner. And with every step, I cut the invisible string tying me to him. Walking past the crowd of nosy people with my head down, I'm reminded of when I was 8. Walking into that Christmas party with a bruise on my back for trying to help my brother, I remember the gut-wrenching feeling that he wouldn't come out until morning, most likely covered in bruises of his own. And it was all thanks to Daddy, dearest. Bye, Rye, Louise. Katie shouts at the cranky woman glaring at us from the doorway. The door slams shut, and she turns to me with a bright, contagious smile. Sure enough, within seconds, I find myself smiling back. I'm Eve. It's nice to meet you. You're so gorgeous. Oh my gosh, is your hair actually that long? Before I can respond, she takes my hand, grabs my suitcase with the other, and carries it toward the empty bed. Haha, yeah. You already decorated? I ask, glancing at her side of the room. The walls are covered in framed pictures and drooping fairy lights. Yeah, I got here about 3 hours ago with my parents. My body stiffens. I quickly pull my suitcase onto my bed and unzip it. I'll help you. Thank you, I say, tucking a loose strand of hair behind my ear. I've never met someone so excited to be my friend. It unsettles me. I start unpacking my few belongings, setting them on the bedside table, while Katie organizes my clothes in the wardrobe. To my surprise, talking to her is easy. You're a transfer, right? So, sophomore year? Yeah, I needed a fresh start. You know what I mean? I say from the floor as I push my suitcase under my bed. Totally. What course are you taking? Business. I sigh, dropping onto the bed. Katie flops down beside me. You're going to be in a class full of athletes. She giggles when I roll my eyes. They all take it as a backup plan in case they don't go pro. Well, that's depressing. I grimace. You really hate athletes that much? She teases. Okay, maybe I'm being dramatic, I admit. It's just the cocky, egotistical male athletes. I'm all for female athletes. I'd even consider myself borderline an athlete. I've never done competitive dance, but I've devoted my time and love to it. It's what gets me out of my head when my thoughts threaten to consume me. Well, you'll find plenty of those types here. Katie laughs. What about you? What course are you taking? I ask, already guessing something like media. She seems like the type. Music. I've always been obsessed with it. It's like the calm in the storm. She talks with her hands, her passion obvious. I totally get that. I nod, stopping myself from mentioning that dance is my escape. I want to keep that part of me private. In a world where my life is constantly exposed because of my last name, dance is the one thing that's mine. 20 questions? She grins. I nod, grateful for the change in topic. Celebrity crush? Probably. I don't know, maybe young Leonardo DiCaprio. Solid answer. She agrees with a nod. 20 questions turn into 40, then 60, then just effortless conversation. I laugh harder than I think I ever have in my life. By the time one of us checks the time, it's already 6:30 p.m. We've been talking for 3 hours. Oh my gosh, we're going to miss dinner. Katie yelps, running toward the door. I grab both of our slippers on the way out. She turns back, realizing she forgot her shoes, and smiles when she sees them in my hands. I think you're my best friend already. She laughs, hooking her arm through mine as we walk in sync down the hall. Hero. As we step into the large dining hall, I immediately feel it. Eyes on me. The downside of being new. Katie leads us to an empty table across from a loud, rowdy group. With their matching uniforms and ridiculously attractive faces, I assume it's the football team and the cheerleaders. Katie! A voice calls from behind, stealing my attention. A tall guy with tattoos running up his arms and lean muscles saunters toward our table. Hey, Nick! Katie beams, but even from the get-go, I can tell there's nothing romantic between them, just a natural, easy friendship. Nick, this is my friend Eve. Eve, this is Nick. My chest tightens at the word friend instead of roommate, which is silly. Hey, Nick says, flashing a grin before winking. She's not interested. Katie answers for me before he can say another word. Never say never. Never. Then I hear it. Footsteps. There are hundreds of people walking through this room, but something in my body forces me to look toward the entrance. My breath catches. My heart pounds. I never thought I'd see him again. Oh, that's Carson Ryder, Katie says, following my gaze. He's the quarterback and captain of the football team. Total playboy, but look at him. I don't turn to Katie, but I know she's looking at him with dreamy eyes. The unnerving part? He's looking right back at me. Carson. Let's run it again. I shout over the groans of my teammates sprawled across the field. Carson, we've been training nonstop for the past week. You can't give us just one day off? My best friend Cade pleads. The rest of the team nods eagerly in agreement. No, I state simply, pulling up my shirt to wipe the sweat off my forehead. A chorus of whistles erupts from a group of girls on the bleachers. Immediately, I drop my shirt back down. Come on, Cap. One of the guys whines from the ground, half the team dramatically clutching their chests like they're on the verge of death. We have 10 minutes left of practice. Get up and do it again. I bark. This time, no one argues. They scramble to their feet and start running. I follow, easily overtaking most of them at a steady pace. You coming to the party tonight? Kate asks, running up beside me, already out of breath. Maybe. I heard Ellie's looking for you. He waggles his eyebrows, nudging me in the ribs. Great, I deadpan. You're seriously still not interested in her? No. I used to entertain occasional hookups back in sophomore and junior year, but I was never really into them. Detached, more like, football doesn't feel like an escape anymore. It feels like a chore. And lately, I don't find much joy in anything. Besides, I haven't been with anyone in months, despite what people assume. Not since I saw her at the diner. I didn't expect her to lash out, not after she practically turned pink just looking at me. A small smile tugs at my lips at the memory. I wanted to go after her. Tell her that Brian was a jackass. Who, by the way, I kicked off the team. I wanted to look into her amber eyes. Eyes that seemed both haunted and sharp. But what am I even thinking? I don't even know her name. Practice is done. I call out, my thoughts consuming me. I'm not in the right mindset anymore.
You're going soft, Cade smirks, walking toward me with James in tow. I'll remember that next time. Hey, Cap, James nods at me. Taylor, I acknowledge. I've been friends with James since high school, though not as close as I am with Cade. James likes to flaunt his wealth, something I have no interest in. I know I come from money, it's just not something I talk about. It would probably please my mother if I did. She has my entire life mapped out. Marry a respectable woman, preferably her best friend's daughter, Lola, join the NFL, have one kid, die. Doesn't that sound wonderful? I've spent years building the path toward that future. I can't say no now. I push through the locker room doors, heading straight for the showers. The lovely stench of sweat and body spray fills the air. Being 6'4" in a communal shower is not ideal. The walls are ridiculously short, and I've been unwillingly flashed too many times. Hey, Cap, Max, a freshman greets me from the shower next to mine. I don't even flinch like I did back in my freshman year, when I learned the hard way not to look in any direction but up. Max, nice footwork today, I say, rinsing off. Contrary to what some guys think, I do care about them. Most of them. Not the ones who are complete jerks. As I take my time washing the sweat off, I ignore the usual locker room talk until I hear one of the sophomores start describing his night with a girl in way too much detail. I smack him upside the head. Hey, what was that for? My sister raised me right. Zip it. I step past him, towel around my waist, and quickly change into a pair of sweats and a muscle shirt. My duffel bag slings over my shoulder as I squirt water into my mouth, waiting for Cade to finish up. Hey, Carson. I glance over to see a blonde girl smiling at me with her friends. Because I'm an idiot and don't remember her name, I just nod. Her friends giggle and shuffle away just as Cade steps out of the locker room. Hey, girls, he calls out, grinning. All of them spin around immediately, blushing. Stop stealing all the girls, man, he teases as we head toward the dining hall. Funny. Your mom's still trying to make you procreate with Lola? I choke on my water. Stop using that word. Ever since he heard some guy in the mall say it, he's been obsessed. Well, is she? Yep. Seems like I don't have another fate. Just trying to put it off as long as possible. Carson. No, I cut him off. And we're not talking about this. He eyes me, but thankfully lets it go as we reach the dining hall. Hey, Eli, what's up, man? Cade shouts at a guy from the hockey team. Nice to see you, man. Eli nods at me. Carson, how's the team doing? Good. What are you doing down here? Old Captain's sister just transferred in. He chuckles. Well, we were ordered to observe from afar. Half the team is here, believe it or not. I've got to head out see you at the party. Yeah, see you there, Cade says as we step into the dining hall. Stop looking so moody, dude, he mutters, punching me in the ribs. I retaliate by punching his shoulder. He stumbles forward, narrowing his eyes. How do you even get girls, he mutters. I smirk. Sweep them off their feet. His glare sharpens in amusement. I nod at a few people calling my name, forcing a smile at the others. I can't even remember what my real smile looks like anymore. Then I see her. Her back is to me, but the moment I lay eyes on her, something shifts. I feel it in my chest. She turns sharply, meeting my gaze. Oh, no, I know her. That's the girl. My girl. Her eyes widen in recognition before her expression hardens into a scowl. That's new. Someone nudges my shoulder, Cade, eyebrows furrowed, looking at me weirdly. I snap out of my trance, but when I turn back, she's gone. Crap. My eyes scan the dining hall, frustration creeping in when I don't see her. Yo, you good? Cade slaps the back of my head. I glare at him. His face says, what the heck are you doing? Now what was I doing? Mentally shaking myself, I head to our usual table, ignoring the ache in my chest. I wanted to know her name. I wanted to ask her a million questions. I wanted her selfishly.
Eve, so... Katie slides up next to me on the dorm floor as I place my last sweater into the storage drawer. I've just been invited to the annual first-term party, and I've got a +1. She waggles her eyebrows at me. I don't know. I start, but she cuts me off before I can get any further. Hear me out. You wanted a fresh start, right? This will give you that. Meeting new people, letting loose, it'll be good for you. Trust me. She nods vigorously as if that seals the deal. I should do it. My father is across the country. Half the school probably already knows my last name. No one knows the details, just the rumors that float around. If I show up, maybe people will stop whispering. Stop looking at me like I'm fragile. I'm not fragile. I'm a survivor. The world has speculated about what happened in my house ever since an anonymous source leaked it to a news channel. But since the police never investigated, my father has been left untouched. Now it's just gossip. Luke fights me on my decision not to press charges, bringing it up at least once a month. He doesn't understand. If I make a statement, if I confirm what people already suspect, everything will get worse. The rumors, the stares, the disgust. Luke would survive it. He has Lizzie to lean on. I have no one. I wouldn't survive it. I know exactly what people would say. They'd call me the lucky one. The one my father never laid a hand on because my big brother took the beatings instead. My brother's fans would shame me for not protecting him. They would never know about the scar over my heart from my father's pocket knife. They would never know about the beatings I took after Luke left for college. They would never know what it felt like to be tied up, gagged, and bleeding out while being forced to watch my brother nearly die. No, because I'm the lucky one. Okay, I'll come, I say, forcing a small smile. It's worth it when I see Katie's face light up. Really? Oh my gosh, I thought it'd be way harder to convince you. Anyway, we have to leave in 30 minutes. And with that, she rushes out of the room. A second later, the door slams. Sorry, she calls out from the hallway. I huff out a breath and turn to my wardrobe. Not wanting to overdo it, I pull on a denim miniskirt and a black backless top. I touch up my makeup to conceal the dark circles under my eyes. I move around my room, searching for my student ID and phone. Then I pause in front of my floor-length mirror. My light brown hair falls neatly down my back. I fiddle with my necklace, staring at my reflection. I look decent, better than I have in months. I'll get out of this. I'm not afraid. Eve, let's go. Katie's voice calls from the living room. Would he be there? The thought makes my face warm. I asked Katie what his name was after she found me following my escape from the cafeteria. Carson Blake. Would he even notice me? Eve. Coming, I shout, grabbing my phone and rushing out the door, leaving my thoughts behind. They sure are. So, I clear my throat, trying to sound casual. Who's going to be there? Katie smirks knowingly. Well, it's my friend TK's party, and he's on the football team, so I assume all his friends. And the cheerleaders, I guess. My body tenses. Captain of the football team, Carson Blake. I look out the car window, forcing myself not to think about the whispers I heard at lunch. Anyone you looking for? No, just assessing the situation. I lie. We turn into a gated neighborhood where people in barely their outfits stumble along the pavement. As I step out, I close the car door gently, waiting for Katie to round the hood. My hand absently rubs over my heart. If you ever want to leave, just tell me, and I'll go with you. Plus, you look amazing tonight, so I think you'll get plenty of attention. Katie links her arm through mine as we approach the house. The overwhelming stench of alcohol, weed, and sweat fills the air. Bodies are crammed together, dancing, drinking, shouting over the music. Follow me, Katie yells, pulling me through the crowd. I catch a couple of guys staring as I walk by. A few wolf whistles, but I keep my head high. She leads us into the kitchen, where a group is huddled near a beer pong table. I recognize a few faces from lunch. My grip on Katie's hand tightens. She squeezes back, reassuring. Eve, these are my friends. You've met Maya and Will at lunch. I send a small wave to the auburn-haired girl, Maya, and the lanky blonde guy, Will. The rest are Hunter and TK, both football players. Katie winks at me. I ignore her. Have I met you before? Hunter asks, studying me. Probably not. I just transferred here this year. He nods, taking a swig of his beer. Are you single? TK blurts out. Heat rises to my cheeks. I hesitate, looking for a way out, but Katie jumps in. She's here for a fresh start, TK. Don't ruin it. TK winks at me anyway. Call me. I stifle a laugh. That's why you look familiar, Hunter suddenly exclaims, snapping his fingers. You're a Beckett, aren't you? My smile disappears. You're that girl Cap was staring at, TK says, pointing at me before dropping his hand. His gaze drags over my legs. Rightfully so. He smirks. Butterflies swarm in my stomach. His friends know about me? I try to stop the smile from creeping onto my face, but I can feel Katie's stare burning into my cheek. I want to smack myself for feeling anything. What am I thinking? Maybe he's not an arrogant jock. Maybe he's actually a nice guy. I nearly roll my eyes at myself. Pathetic. Speaking of the devil, TK shouts, shifting his gaze behind me. I instinctively smooth down my hair. Taking a deep breath, I turn and my stomach drops. Carson is there. A girl is draped over him, grinding against him as her fingers tangle in his hair. Their mouths are connected. And when I force myself to look lower, I see his large hands gripping her waist. She's gorgeous. The complete opposite of me-long, smooth legs, a tiny waist, platinum blonde hair cascading down her back. Katie slips her hand into mine, squeezing gently. Carson's eyes widen when they meet mine. I don't let my heart crack. Instead, I internally slap myself for even thinking there was something there. Heat rises to my cheeks. I need to get out of here. Why did I hope for something so impossible? As I turn to leave, a hand catches my wrist. Will stands in front of me, his sheepish smile soft. Do you want to grab a drink and explore? Katie told me he was shy, a music major, and nice. More importantly, he's offering me an escape. I'm not running away. I won't let anyone make me feel small. I'm not afraid. Yes. Edits and improvements. Smoothed out grammar and sentence structure for better readability. Strengthened Eve's internal voice, making her emotions more visceral. Improved pacing to keep tension and build up sharp. Made dialogue more natural and engaging. This version keeps the core of your story while making it more immersive and polished. Let me know if you want any more tweaks. She's here. She's actually here. I freeze, my body locked in place as I watch her glance around frantically. My brows knit together when she presses a hand to her chest as if trying to steady her heartbeat. She looks incredible. I wouldn't be surprised if I started drooling. Her body. Carson, why don't we take this upstairs? I snap out of my thoughts. Ellie winks at me, leaning in, giving me a perfect view of her surgically enhanced chest. Nothing, not even a flicker of interest. Apparently my body is just as fixated as my mind on the same girl who's making my head spin. I push myself up, forcing Ellie to stumble back. She nearly trips, and guilt tugs at me, so I offer my arm for balance. Within seconds, delicate, cool fingers wrap around my bicep. Look, I really need to... Please. She cuts me off, batting her lashes. I'll be extra handsy tonight. Her words should do something for me. Instead, my stomach turns. I peel her fingers off my arm and step away, frustration tightening my chest. No. My voice is flat. Please. She juts out her lower lip in a forced pout, but it only makes me recoil further. Do you need me to teach you what no means? I sigh, taking her gently by the arm and steering her toward the group she arrived with. I might be an asshole, but I'm not about to let a drunk girl wander around a frat party alone. My sister taught me better. Once she's safely in the arms of her friends, I turn, scanning the room. But she's gone. What the hell is wrong with me? This wasn't part of the plan. I shouldn't be obsessing over a girl whose name I don't even know. A flicker of brown catches my eye. Shit. She's laughing. Her head is tipped back. her smile radiant as she grips the edge of the pool table for balance. My lips tug upward just watching her. Damn, she might actually be an angel. The trance shatters when I notice the way my teammates are looking at her. Their gazes linger, filled with something possessive, something I don't like. Running a hand through my hair, I push forward, a smirk on my face, until her eyes meet mine. Her smile vanishes. Shit. Hey, Cap. It was nice meeting you guys, but I need to find my friends. She avoids my gaze, brushing past me. Cade watches from the couch, assessing me with a look I can only describe as calculating. Before I even register what I'm doing, my hand wraps around her wrist, pulling her back. Her warm back presses against my chest, and the scent of something soft and sweet fills my lungs. Don't go. My voice is low, almost lost in the noise. But by the way her breath catches, I know she heard me. A second later, she's ripped from my hold. Hazel eyes glare up at me, sharp and unyielding. She takes me in, gaze raking over every inch of me from a safe distance, like she's assessing a threat. I force myself to stay still. When her eyes finally meet mine, I swear I forget how to breathe. You do not get to grab me like that, asshole. She snaps, breaking the tension. I nod, stepping forward. Are you mute? She challenges, rolling her eyes. That might explain why you don't understand basic manners. And just like that, I'm hooked. What's your name? I ask, grinning. None of your business. Her cheeks flush, betraying her irritation. Her name's Eve. I don't look away from her, don't acknowledge the voice that fed me the information. I only watch as she stiffens. Katie, shut up. Will you stay, Eve? I murmur, stepping closer. She mirrors me, stepping back. I'm addicted. Her expression hardens. I'm not going to be your rebound. Or did you forget about the girl who was seconds away from dry humping you? Laughter erupts behind me. My smirk widens. I didn't lay a hand on her, and I'd rather it be you. In your dreams, she scoffs. You wouldn't even know how to... She pauses as whistles and laughter ripple through the room. Her eyes narrow. I step closer. My lips hover near hers, close enough to feel the heat between us. Tilting her chin up, I murmur, should we test that theory? Because, baby, I'd make it my life's purpose to prove you wrong. Her breath hitches. You're a cocky bastard, you know that? Stop flirting with me, Angel. She groans, throwing her hands up. You are so infuriating. Eve, you good? He bothering you? A voice cuts in, and a guy steps between us, placing a protective hand on her shoulder. I recognize him instantly. Elijah. We've talked before, he seemed chill. But right now, he's pissing me off. I'm fine, Elijah. Eve says, rolling her eyes. I can handle myself. Damn right she can. Elijah doesn't look convinced. You sure? Just take me home. My jaw clenches. Her boyfriend? Elijah, just take me home. She turns toward the exit, but just before she leaves, her gaze locks onto mine. For a second, everything else blurs. Her eyes are tired, guarded, empty almost. Or maybe I'm just too tipsy to tell. I need to know you, Eve. And then she's gone. I start to follow. Eve, Eve. A firm hand presses against my chest. I stop, glaring at Elijah. Stay away from her, Carson. His voice is hard, his posture tense. He's solid, built. But I don't lift weights every damn day for nothing. He's a few inches shorter than me, but he doesn't back down. Stay out of my way, Elijah. He doesn't flinch. Are you going to change for her? I frown. What? We all know your plan. Football. That's all you care about. She's not someone who deserves to be just another name on your list. My jaw tightens. Don't mess up her life, he says. Not when you don't even want to be in it, because if you do, I won't hesitate to end your career. He claps me on the chest, stepping back. See you around, Blake. Good luck this season. I stand there as he walks away, the party still raging around me. His words settle in my chest. Don't mess up her life when you don't even want to be in it. The scary thing is, I do want to be in her life. I want to know every little thing about Eve Beckett, and that scares the hell out of me. Chapter 5. Okay, so hear me out before you say anything, okay? Katie slides up next to me and Hunter in the dining room as I am in the middle of chewing my apple. I stare at her for a solid moment before slowly nodding. My band is playing in this really cute bar in 2 days, and Katie. I cut her off, but don't get very far as she presses her finger to my mouth, shutting me up. Okay then. I know you don't really like going out, but this is really important to me, and I'll go. I blurt out, desperate to erase disappointment off her face, longing to see that bright smile that instantly appears moment I agree. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. Nick and Maya eventually join our table, and the conversation around me starts to flow, allowing me to discreetly check my phone under the table. I scroll through the endless articles of my father, stopping when I find one posted 8 hours ago. My heart starts to accelerate, my fingers shaking as my eyes dart around the screen trying to find a location. A breath of relief floods through me. Washington. I'm okay. He's in Washington, the other side of the country. I'm not afraid. Abruptly, my phone pings and it nearly slips through my fingers. I fumble around to grab it, checking who's messaged me, knowing there is only a handful of people who actually message me on a daily basis. Lizzie. How's the princess doing? I catch myself resisting a smile. Lizzie has always been like an older sister to me. She is family. Me. Was wondering when I would get a text from you. Lizzie. Stop evading the question. Me. Is Luke making you ask? Lizzie. Luke's at an away game right now. I wanted to know how my baby sister was doing. I love you always, E. I'm about to respond, but a crash and laughter in the opposite corner of the dining room causes me to look up from my phone. The football team is there, laughing and hitting each other. My eyes roam around the table involuntary. An odd pit in my stomach appears when my eyes return to the food in front of me. Disappointment, I realize. Fuck no. No, just no. Disappointed that I can't shout in his face, maybe, but I am not disappointed that Carson Blake isn't there. That would be a disgrace to all the bad bitches before me. I'm going to go to class. I'll see you guys later. I keep my eyes in front of me the whole walk to business, my AirPods on full blast, or more specifically, 0.3, Bonnie and Clyde. I make sure to keep my head down and ignore the passerbys. Adjusting my bag as I awkwardly walk into class 5 minutes early, I sit myself in the corner of the very busy classroom. I pull down my hood, not bothering making greetings with the person next to me. Instead, I pull out my phone and scroll through tons of meaningless posts, lingering on the post the New York Rangers made about my brother. Didn't expect you to be the type to be a puck bunny. I nearly jump out my seat, frightened to my core from the voice to my right. Fuck off, I whisper, collecting my dropped phone. Stop sweet-talking me, baby. No. Squeezing my eyes shut at the familiar voice, I prepare myself for my worst nightmare. Hi, Carson says, flashing a full-on grin. Naturally, he looks ridiculously hot, rocking a backwards baseball cap, gray sweats, and fitted top. Basically every girl's wet dream come to life. Quit ogling me in public, Angel. His annoyingly smug voice snaps me out of my trance. You wish, Blake. I roll my eyes, keeping my eyes laser-focused on the professor who has just stepped in. Every fucking night. He winks, his body still turned towards me. What's your last name, Eve? My body tenses at his question. I thought he knew. I thought that was the reason he was going after me. Ignoring those thoughts from my head, I quickly become thankful he doesn't know. Fuckoff. I spell out for him with a tight smile on my face. He chuckles at my response, and my heart betrays me by fluttering at the sound. Patience is my middle name, baby. He says, leaning back in his chair, his eyes slowly travel over me, and I start to fidget under the weight of his intense gaze. Mr. Blake, would you like to tell the class what you were whispering about to Ms. Beckett? I freeze as all heads turn in our direction, keeping my eyes trained on the professor in front of me and not on the 6'4" quarterback. Eve Beckett, huh? All instructions I've given myself fly out the window at the sound of his voice, raspy and soft. I turn my head to stare at him, preparing myself for the snide comments. Instead, all I get is intense moonlight eyes staring back at me. I'm trapped, unable to look away, as if those silvery depths are pulling me into an uncharted world, both haunting and beautiful. Yet what unsettles me even more is the spark in his eyes. A hint of curiosity that feels dangerously close to interest. I cannot be his mystery when I can't even cope to solve myself. What? You want me to call up my brother and get you an autograph? I sneer, the word dripping with disdain and a hint of disappointment. A brief frown flickers across his lips, But before I have the chance to dwell on the sting of my own words, someone interrupts, cutting the tension between us. Mr. Blake, Ms. Beckett. Abruptly, I turn my body towards the professor, lowering my head, trying to ignore the stares of the rest of the class. My fault, Professor, Carson says, his eyes and face still trained on me. I try go through the next 20 minutes without peeking in my peripheral vision, focusing on my notes and looking up every once in a while. I'm staring at the clock, watching the seconds tick by, wondering, thinking, when a crumpled up stick note gets pressed in front of me. I'm sorry. I turn to Carson, who stares right back at me with a slight smile. With a quiet nod, he turns back to the professor while I snatch the pen out of his hand, ignoring the grin overtaking his face. For what? I rip the note off and place it in the middle of us, dropping the pen in front of him and turning back to the professor, trying to act like I am doing something when instead I'm obsessing over the fact that his handwriting is so neat.
What's up, story lovers? This is the Story Guy, and if you're hungry for crazy tales and mind-blowing narratives, you've come to the right place. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button so you don't miss out on our weekly dose of crazy cheating stories, fun fiction and gut-ripping comedy from around the world. But that's not all. We also create our own original stories, and trust me, you won't find these anywhere else. Want even more spine-tingling reads? Head down to the description and grab our exclusive story collections. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.